All right, Mark, I love it when you do the countdown.
In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Greetings, citizens! You're now trapped in the nerd cage with your hosts Mark and Jay. We hope you have a smashing good time.
You are about to witness the strength of geek knowledge. Hello and welcome. That's right, you're trapped in NerdCage Live. This ain't just a reaction show, but a debate show and a live discussion on everything that makes people like you and I tick. So thank you for joining us tonight. Please hit that like button and subscribe. I'm your co-host, Jay St. G, certified geek, 7 days a week, coming to you live from Syracuse, New York. And always with me, the newly crowned half-century black ninja, the warrior for Wakanda, the fiend from Louisville, my man, Mark Withers. And on the dominant side of your screen, hailing from the musical city landscape of Houston, Texas, weighing in at 4,000 subscribers, more brash than a Texas rash. Many know him as the Alpaca Hunter, the creator of Godzilla Apex, formerly served in the United States Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, making his long-awaited debut, the host of Scrye Productions, Adam El Sabah. Welcome to the cage, man.
What's good? Thank you so much for having me.
What's up, man? Thank you for joining us.
Look what we got here today. Paul Tackett is here. Big Jack is here. Zilla Punk is here. Well, Michelle is here. Thank you for joining us, everybody. We're gonna have fun tonight.
Thanks for showing up, guys.
I see some familiar faces.
Yes, we do.
I see them. Zilla Punk. A lot of these. Awesome. This is awesome. Thank you. Yeah, again, thank you so much for having me, guys. Thank you. This has been, ever since you asked me and told me what we were going to debate, I've been prepping, I've been working it out, you know, like getting ready, practicing a little bit. No, so I'm ready to go. Let's do this.
Awesome,
Absolutely.
man. So yeah, like once again, man, thank you for joining us. You know, like I'm a fan of your channel. I really like the Godzilla Apex stuff that you're doing. The animation is real badass. As someone who's like I would consider myself like a non-tokusatsu, non-kaiju person, I still find it like super interesting, super compelling. So I kind of want to know, like, first of all, how did you get into kaiju, and then also like how did you get into animation and then sort of like blend those two things together and do what you do?
So I've always, when I was a kid, this when my parents introduced me to Godzilla, you know, it came on TV on like UPN and all those like old network television shows that have all since changed. And then I started collecting the movies. I was always a fan of dinosaurs too, so that kind of helped.
Right.
and got the toys. And when I started getting the toys, I started like making mock setups and stuff and coming up with ideas and stories and all kinds of things and play around and all that kind of stuff, right? And then and for the longest time, I wanted to be an animator. I was, I used to draw a lot. I have a lot of artwork from when I was a kid. I haven't really put pencil to paper, which is a shame. I really need to start doing that again. But at one point, I was going to go to Disney because my uncle was the chief engineer there at the park in Florida. Oh, wow. And that was my in. But right when I was leaving, like the week as I was leaving, they destroyed the animation studio in Florida and moved it all to Cali.
Right.
And so I lost my in. And shortly after that, I joined the military and was getting more into music. And I'd always been in music. I was in a couple high school bands and stuff like that. And then a couple of other bands as I got older. And I really dove into music and wanted to become a composer. Eventually, I ended up DJing, know how to make rock, country, rap. I can make all genres of music, but I really wanted to get into like cinematic music. And that's initially what my channel was about music. It was about making cinematic music and stuff like that. And the channel turned into more of a Godzilla channel when Godzilla King of the Monsters, the 2019 one came out. I did a couple of like remakes of the different themes from back in the 70s and 60s and made it like trailer style cinematic. And they blew up, and the algorithm decided that I was a Godzilla channel at that point. So anything that I made outside of Godzilla just was not working. So I just kind of ran with it. And I was like, could be worse. I love Godzilla. I'm not actually the biggest Tokusatsu fan. Like I don't, I know, right? It's crazy. But, like for instance, Paul Tackett mentioned it earlier in the comment section, the Shin Ultraman trailer dropped in Japan for that. And I'm like, maybe this will be what helps me get into like Ultraman and stuff. But I wasn't really a big Toku fan. I'm just a hardcore Godzilla fan.
Gotcha.
And then, so we fast forward to 2020 when the lockdowns hit and my work schedule gets decreased to like 8 hours a week. Oh, so I was like, might as well pick up a new hobby. And I picked up 3D animation using the software that I use. And I've been learning it ever since. And I started releasing little animated shorts in the summer of 2020. And one of them was called Godzilla Apex. And it was only ever supposed to be a short. Everybody really fell in love with it and asked me to make it a series. So I ended up making it a series. And now we are where we are with it. I've been working on a soundtrack. I've got a lot of people involved with it. I have my own modelers. I'm getting custom models made, all kinds of stuff. And then, of course, wonderful voice acting talents from people like Jay right here on NerdCage. And nice. I've got Kaiju Noir. Davis is going to be voice acting in it as well. Titan Goji.
Titan Goji's here, by the way, and so is Shay Smithers. Thanks for coming in.
Awesome. Yeah. And so it's I'm hoping to have it out sometime next week, if not the week after, but I'm hoping to have it out by next week. And cool. And so I like the whole channel, the whole idea of the channel is, I make Godzilla stuff, but I want to expand outside of that. So like I'm going to start this little side thing with Star Wars, and eventually we're going to expand into more original content. Like Kaiju Noir has his Draco Azul comic book thing that we're going to turn into an animated series, because everybody who's picked up his comic book, a lot of the fans are asking for an animated series, and so we're working that out. We're working that out, and then I have some original ideas, some completely original stories that are unrelated to kaiju whatsoever that I want to do, that more like mythological, ancient Rome, ancient Egypt kind of stuff. So that's kind of where we're headed. Like,
right.
The future looks bright for Scrye Productions. I'm trying to turn it into a big production company.
And as I mentioned before, you hit 4,000 subscribers this year, man. Like, keep it up.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Because when I first met you, you're like 1,000 or 2,000. Now you're at 4,000, dude. So I love how you're progressing.
Blowing up.
I have to say, like, doing the animation stuff really just took took off, like made the channel take off. Like they liked the music and that was cool, but now the animations have made things take off, and a lot of other channels like Wikizilla, Dangerville, whatever, a couple other channels have commissioned me to make music for them and have used the music on my channel. So that's really helped too, to spread the word and stuff like that. So
very nice.
That's great.
It's been a trip, and I need to put out more content to grow faster, I guess, on the YouTube algorithm. But I'm looking to start my own website this year, possibly in I don't know, 5 to 10 years, maybe get an actual production set studio thing built, because I've got some land out here in Houston. So we'll see what happens.
Nice.
Cool.
And for everyone in the who's maybe not familiar with Adam and his work, the links are in the description below. The link to subscribe to Scrye Productions, his Patreon's there, his Instagram, his SoundCloud, all that good stuff's in the description below. So be sure to hit that shit up.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. I got your back, dude. By the way, so we got a couple things here in the chat. Scott Bannock from Syracuse, close friend of mine, he's like, yeah, Star Wars, because he's always egging me on about Star Wars. Big Jack Films asks you, what effects are you going to use to make Star Wars on your channel?
Well, I'm not sure exactly what all I'm going to do with Star Wars. What I really want to explore with it is like the old Republic lore, the stuff that happened outside of the movies thousands of years in the past, like the stuff with Darth Revan, Darth Malak, Darth Bane, how the Rule of Two got started, all that kind of stuff. And there's a couple of games that
Knights of the Old Republic.
Yeah, Knights of the Old Republic and stuff that I'm going to be referencing, and I play Star Wars: The Old Republic, the MMO. I stopped playing WoW, for those of you in chat that knew I played WoW. I stopped playing WoW, and I play this game because it's, by the way, if you ever want to try it out, just to try it out, it's free to play. You can download it for free on the website or Steam, and it's really awesome. It's fun. It's kind of like it's not a serious game. You don't have to like do specific things. You can just play how you want to play. It's really fun. But the really cool thing about that game, and one of the things that I'm going to start to do first, is take within the game, there's a whole bunch of cutscenes and they all tell a story, and there's 8 different classes and each one of them have their own separate story. And I've like scoured the internet to find out if there's a chronological order, because some of the stories overlap. And I've found a kind of a comprehensive list of what to play in what order if you want like a chronological story. So I'm going to transfer that into a little mini series and upload the cutscenes all edited together to try to make like an episode thing. So if you're not interested in playing the game, you can at least watch the story and kind of see where the Lucasfilm of Disney is getting a lot of their ideas, because a lot of the stuff, like the newer stuff that they're coming out with, the Mandalorian, the Clone Wars, Rebels, like a lot of the ship designs, a lot of like the old lightsaber stuff, like that's all in the Old Republic.
Yeah.
So they're pulling from it, and not a lot of people talk about the Old Republic. So
yeah, what you're talking about like actually sounds like right up my alley, because like I'm not a gamer, but I do like get on YouTube and watch like the cutscenes from a lot of these games.
Me too.
Like, yeah, so for you to like do something like that, I would be like 100% into it.
Okay, well then I will, as soon as I've started working on it, I'm going to start releasing. I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to format it. I'm going to try to make them episodic, but the thing is I have to play the game, record the cutscenes, then edit everything together. And I've taken off the music, because if you leave the music on while you're playing, it like cuts weird and doesn't sound right. So then I'm going to have to go download the video game music and then layer it on top, and then try to make it look all cinematic and add like the letterbox stuff. And so, but that's going to be the starting point, and I'll probably do some other like lore videos or whatever where it's just kind of like editorial things. But there's not a whole lot in the way of like 3D models and stuff. There's ship battles and stuff, which is something I was actually kind of interested in doing, like some X-Wing versus TIE Fighter short kind of whatever. That would be kind of cool, but there's not a whole lot in the way of models for me to manipulate and animate. So I'm going to have to, sorry about that. I'm going to have to,
and we're on air.
I'm sorry.
It's all good.
I'm gonna have to like probably have custom models made of different characters and stuff, in order to do some original shorts and stuff like that. But that's kind of where I'm at.
No, that's good stuff. So I want to segue a little bit. So one thing we did with Titan Goji and we did with Matt from Monstrosity as well. Every time we have like a kaiju expert, like YouTuber on here. As everybody knows already, Mark has not watched a Godzilla movie or a kaiju movie. So, last time when Davis was here, we kind of talked about like what movies would we recommend to Mark to kind of gently lure him in. So basically 3 movies and an honorable mention. So Adam, what would be your recommendations to Mark to kind of lure him in gently into, Godzilla and Kaiju?
Yeah,
well,
I'm a blank slate, so
blank
right from the beginning, yeah.
So I think personally, because I've seen some of your rapid fire movies and stuff, and I know you're an anime fan, so I would actually recommend the anime trilogy right off the bat. Since you're an anime fan, you'll definitely be able to, like, you'll have that mentality to be able to watch it and like, oh, this is anime style storytelling, so you can kind of get behind it, right? A lot of people didn't like the anime trilogy because they couldn't get behind it.
Like this guy.
And that's understandable. I personally am a huge fan of the anime trilogy, the story that it tells, and it's very full of like philosophical. It's a thinker movie, So if you like thinker movies, I would definitely recommend the entire anime trilogy. You can find it on Netflix. I don't know if they took it down. I think it's on Netflix.
It's still there.
Outside of that, obviously the 1954 movie, and if you were to watch that, I would recommend watching the Japanese subtitled cut, not the American cut, because there is so much, dare I say, that the American producers of 54 kind of whitewashed away with the American version.
Right.
And it's so 1954 would definitely be another good starting one. It's in black and white, so you can appreciate like the old how they made movies back in the day. And then the next one I would recommend, and I know this is something that like I'm basically stealing like all of Jay's stuff because everything that he would recommend is the same things I would recommend. Shin Godzilla, which came out in 2016. You can watch. I haven't seen it in the dub, but I watched it in the subtitled. It is the most accurate representation of a modern day Godzilla story that isn't pandering to kids to sell toys or anything like that. It's like touching on the same kind of, not the same exact subjects, but like the original 1954 Godzilla was a big symbology for nuclear power and all that kind of stuff, right? And Shin Godzilla has the nuclear message in there, but it also has like the message of how governments don't respond correctly to natural disasters and stuff. Because I don't know if you're familiar with the Fukushima accident that happened, and then all their earthquakes with all their mass flooding they had a couple years back. Like this all inspired the imagery that you will see in Shin Godzilla to make Godzilla look like a natural disaster. And it's just so good. It's so good. And it's a great, if you watch 1954 and then watch Shin Godzilla or vice versa, you'll see how they updated him, basically. They updated the story of Godzilla's origins. And
honorable mention?
And then the honorable mention, I guess I'll throw in like a super just fun one. A lot of people, and I'll say this only because I also know that you really like martial arts movies and stuff. Yep. A super fun one, turn your brain off just like watching tokusatsu, and it's just really corny and campy. Godzilla Final Wars. It's just a super fun one just to get into. You see a whole host of monsters. You see like them trying to rip off the Matrix and stuff.
They rip off everything. Star Wars, the Matrix,
everything
X-Men.
was in this movie.
Yeah.
Everything was in this movie.
It's a hoot. I mean, I can't hate on the movie. It's dumb, but it's so goddamn entertaining. I had the happy memory. I saw it in a theater in Rochester. Mark, do you remember the George Eastman House Theater in Rochester?
I've never been there, but I've heard of it.
Okay,
yeah.
It's kind of like one of those indie theaters. I saw it there, like before it got like an official American release, and dude, it was bomb, and it was like it was a whole entire, it was like a convention. It was all these Godzilla fans that filled. I thought there'd be nobody there. They filled the theater, and we were all cheering and clapping through the whole thing. It was probably next to The Expendables was probably my favorite movie going experience I ever had.
Wow. That's saying a lot right there.
Yeah, and just like I said, it's a stupid movie. I'm not gonna say it's good. It's not. But like Adam said, if you're willing to turn your brain off and just want to be entertained, But the other ones that Adam mentioned, those are the ones you can take serious.
Yeah, I would. The other ones you would take serious. This one would be fun, and if you when you watch Final Wars, you can kind of know what to expect from like the majority of the rest of the franchise.
Yeah.
After I would say, after Destroy All Monsters, and from the 70s, it starts getting really geared towards kids and campy and stuff like that. So like, Final Wars kind of is like that, but it was made in 2004, so updated special effects, still people in suits and stuff. But all the other ones that I mentioned, you had the anime Shin Godzilla, that was actually all CGI with motion capture, and then 1954 original, that's obviously men in suits, tokusatsu.
I'm laughing at the chat right now. Paul Taggart says, no, the Godzilla anime would not be a good starting point. He says, I would recommend Gatchaman, Guyver, The Inframen, and based on what I know of Mark.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh, Guyver, dude. Guyver is an amazing. There's an OVA series that came out in the late 70s to like mid 80s, and then they redid it in like 2006 and actually made it a whole 26 episodes. Guyver series is, I freaking love the Guyver series. It's so good. It's so good.
And Titan Goji and Cher both, or Titan Goji and Zilla Punk are just like, yeah, Final Wars.
Now, where would like the modern, like the more recent like Godzilla films like rank in there? Do you guys consider those like good movies, or like are those like kind of like you dismiss those or like disown them, or like how do you feel about like King of the Monsters and like the more recent Godzilla stuff?
Adam, go ahead.
The MonsterVerse as a whole is something I'm okay with, because it's cool to see what big budget Hollywood could do with Godzilla, the special effects and stuff like that. However, with things, with movies that have progressed since then, and I totally understand that Legendary was trying to do a whole MonsterVerse copy of the MCU kind of thing. Right. They really, the person who wrote the majority of these movies, and I don't want to say names and gaslight people and get them to like get on Twitter and like spam this guy, but he sucks at screenwriting. He absolutely, the stories are terrible. Well, 2014 was good in my opinion. I liked how they kind of like kept you on the edge of your seat. When you're going to see Godzilla, when you're going to see Godzilla, and you only got like so much of the screen time, but the payoff was amazing. At the end, Kong Skull Island was pretty good, even though
one of my recommendations to Mark was that one.
Yeah, Kong Skull Island is a good one as far as the MonsterVerse is concerned. But King of the Monsters disappointed me to no end, because there was so much potential to develop this franchise, like the MCU or like the Star Wars franchise, where there's like all this potential. They set up the thing with the Hollow Earth, and all of a sudden you have these random characters that you don't know anything about, this family that's having family problems that are at the forefront of the movie that you aren't connected to. They didn't come from the first movie. There's no good crossover. Right. And then it was just so fast paced, and the editing, oh my God, the editing, oh my God. I wanted to rip my eyes out every time you saw Godzilla and Ghidorah come at each other, and then all of a sudden they cut to the inside of the Argo and looking at the humans and stuff, and then they would cut back to the monsters for just like 2 seconds. Like, there are literal cuts with monster scenes in this movie where they're not even on screen in their little cut for 1 second. Like, no joke, you blink, you miss it. Yeah. And the only thing that I'll give King of the Monsters credit for that I really do like about the movie is the soundtrack and the monster designs. Yes. The monster designs are some of the best representations of the monsters. I'm not sure how I feel about Mothra specifically, but Ghidorah, Rodan, and Godzilla, like perfect. Those are perfect.
Yeah, I agree with the Mothra thing, because Mothra in the larval form look a lot like who's that fat caterpillar from A Bug's Life? That's what Mothra looked like in the beginning of the movie. And as far as like the winged form, like I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. Like I thought Godzilla, Tokyo SOS made the best winged Mothra in my opinion.
I liked that one too.
And to tack on to what Adam said, I'll go through it real quick. I hated 2014. King of the Monsters to me is middle of the road. I love Skull Island a lot. They were clicking on all cylinders. It's like the one time they got like the MonsterVerse right, in my opinion. And then like Shin, if we're gonna go there, Shin Gojira is like one of the best ever. I ranked it number 5 out of all the 30 some odd movies. That's like number 5 for me. So now that we talked to MonsterVerse, now we can all chime in on this one. The hype has been real for Godzilla versus Kong. Holy smokes. Mark, I want your reaction. Mark, what was your reaction when you saw the trailer, and what your thoughts on the overall hype of the movie?
I mean, you know, I have to kind of remove myself from that hype train because like we've been talking about, I'm not a big like kaiju tokusatsu person. Like it's the type of movie that like, yeah, I do want to see it now that this hype is kind of snowballed and stuff like that. Like I'm kind of like, I want to see what the fuss is about, but like the trailer itself didn't like elevate like my excitement for it the way that it has, like with a lot of other people who really like John Campia, for example. He mentioned like, oh, this is a movie I was planning on skipping, but then I saw the trailer and now I'm like all in. Like I didn't have that reaction.
What do you think about? I'm curious because you're used to be a musician too. What do you think about the music for the trailer? Do you think it
I don't know. I mean, it didn't. Nothing really like registered for me. Like as far as like, yeah, like this is, you know what I mean? Like this is how you make. You know what I mean?
This is why I wear the goggles.
What was your thought on it?
Oh man, I mean, so the visual effects were impressive. I hope and pray that the editing of this movie is not as abysmal as King of the Monsters was. But it's for me, like everything that they showed, the little girl, the new characters, not saying that they're bad actors or anything, but like, who are they?
Right.
Who like, what's going on? Like this movie was supposed to take place like right after King of the Monsters. This isn't like a 5-year leap like 2014 to King of the Monsters was.
Yeah.
So, who are they? Who are these people? Whatever. What the trailer did do for me though is because I'm a storyteller and I'm kind of like, I'm one of those kind of people, kind of like Paul Tackett. I'll read the end of the book first, and then I'll read the whole book, you know? So I spoiled this movie. Some very credible sources that spoiled some of the other MonsterVerse movies came out in 2019 with these spoilers. I did a live stream on another channel. We were talking about them.
I was there.
And everything that I saw in this trailer confirmed everything in those spoilers. So I know how this movie is going to end. I know what's going to happen. And I really feel like this is going to be maybe not as bad as King of the Monsters, but as bad as King of the Monsters.
It's the same writers, right?
Yep.
For this one as King of the Monsters. Yeah. When I read that, I was like, you know, King of the Monsters was not very well received from everything that I read. So it kind of, knowing that kind of like diminished my anticipation for this movie, like my hype for this movie. So there's that too.
Yeah, so. Here's the thing. Like I have to disagree with Adam on one thing. I have the problem. The CGI on Kong is bothering the hell out of me. Because how is it that the CGI on Kong looks better in 2017's movie on Skull Island and looks a little worse in this movie. It bothers me to no degree. And the other thing that bothers me too is the guy who did special effects for this movie did the special effects for a movie called Christopher Robin, which is a movie I laughed at. And I'm thinking, what bothers me is just like this movie has been postponed so many times, and the special effects still don't look like they're done yet. So, but the movie did get me a little excited. I'm glad that this trailer is giving the movie like a positive hype. Like the hype is real, and it's all the positive energies. But the trailer did nothing for me personally. But I'm still all here. I'm here for it. I hope it's good. I mean, I know what Adam knows. I hope it's good. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Gotcha. Now, knowing what you know, though, like, as someone who's not seen any of it, do you think it's necessary for me to sit through King of the Monsters, Kong Skull Island, the 2014 Godzilla? Like, do I need to watch any of the previous Godzilla movies to really, like, get what's going on in this?
Skull Island, yes.
Yeah, I would say I would start with Skull Island and probably watch King of the Monsters, because there's going to be reoccurring characters. Like Millie Bobby Brown's character was in King of the Monsters. That's when she was introduced. So to understand why she's doing what she's doing and all that, you're probably going to want to watch King of the Monsters. To understand, like, the little girl in the trailer that, touches Kong's finger or whatever, you would need to watch Skull Island to understand the tribe that she comes from on Skull Island, called the Iwis and stuff like that. But you could actually skip 2014 altogether.
Yeah, and the thing is, at least the King of the Monsters, the very beginning of the movie kind of like, shows what happened in 2014 in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So, gotcha. Yeah, I think I 100% agree with Adam. Go Skull Island, King of the Monsters, and then GVK.
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
I'm just looking at the clock right now. So Adam has his steampunk goggles ready because, there's going to be blood splatter and he wants to make sure he doesn't get blood in his eyes. So a few months back, we did a rage debate with Matt from Monstrosities, Destroy All Sequels, where we take a movie and we Thanos snap the sequels away completely. With Adam coming in, I wanted to do the opposite. What standalone movie deserves a sequel? For me, I took weeks to think about it, and there's so many movies I want to pick. But since this is the Nerd Cage, I want to keep it in the nerdy realm. My pick, Joker. 2019 Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, needs a sequel. Adam, what do you got?
I have District 9. I can't remember what year that movie came out, but District 9 is a movie I think deserves a sequel, because it kind of left us on a big cliffhanger, like edge of your seat, what happens next kind of thing.
And Mark, what do you got?
I picked the 2018 action drama Peppermint, starring Jennifer Garner.
So yes, let's take it to the cage, baby. Here we go.
Let's do it.
Okay, ladies and gents, it's time for Rage in the Cage.
Finish him.
So strap in and join the fight in the comments below. Pick a side, Team Mark or Team J. Who will it be?
Rage in the Cage is back, the first one of 2021. Here we go. Team Mark Peppermint versus Team Scrye. District 9 versus Team J. Joker. Adam, you are our guest. Throw the first punches. Let's do it.
All right, so District 9. Okay, so apparently Chat Shay says it came out in 2009. This was his debut feature film that he made. I believe it was also produced, it also ended up producing the movie, the same people ended up making and producing Chappie and a whole bunch of other stuff. But this movie is one of the most interesting alien human stories I've ever seen, because that, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not, but you have this, it's got this idea of this alien spaceship hovering above Johannesburg, which is in Africa, right? First off, the setting, when do we get to see Africa as a setting, right? So that was like really cool for me. And the prawn, which are what they call the aliens, are like basically held up in concentration camps. They call it District 9. And there's all this different stuff going on. And ultimately what it is, it's kind of like a story of Exodus, right? And the main human protagonist essentially undergoes a change and becomes a prawn and helps them escape their bondage. Well, at least most of them anyway. There's still a bunch that were left behind. But it was just a really interesting take on human cruelty. There's just so it gets really deep. It just gets really, really deep with a whole bunch of different things. You see like the baby prawn, you know, and like it's just, I don't know. I thought it was really good, and it's a movie that I'll watch at least a couple times a year, to be honest with you. And it leaves you on such a cliffhanger at the end, because the main human protagonist he changes into an alien. His DNA gets mixed and stuff like that. He changes into an alien, and it just kind of like, I think he dies. I can't remember because it's been a while since I've seen it. I think he dies, but there's hints at other people being changed, and maybe even some of these people that they have in these concentration camps, some of these aliens are actually humans that got changed into prawn. So there's a whole bunch more story there that could be told. And I think that's one of the reasons why I picked it to be the movie that I think deserves a sequel. Also, shout out to Paul Tackett for giving me the idea, because I completely had forgotten about it. I was going to go with something else, but yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Titan Goji's with you. He says Team Scrye. Mark, go ahead. Make your case.
All right, so I make the case for Peppermint because, in my opinion, I don't know who's seen it, who hasn't seen it, but in my humble opinion, this is the Punisher live action movie that we all deserve but never got. Like, for anybody who doesn't know the story, Jennifer Garner's character, Riley North, she is a suburban mom whose husband becomes the target of cartel violence, which results in his death and the death of their daughter. When she tries to go the normal route through the normal channels to try to get justice for her family, she finds out that the system is extremely corrupt, and there are a number of people within that chain that were not only responsible for her family's death, but also responsible for the killers going free. So she wages a campaign of revenge after several years passing, which is essentially the same story as Frank Castle. In fact, you could take Riley North and change her name to Francine Castle and gender swap and just say it's a gender swap Punisher movie, and I would buy it. I'd be like, dude, that was the best Punisher movie I've ever seen in my life.
I like the Punisher movies personally. I know they're
I like
bad.
them too. I'm not saying right. I'm not saying that they're bad movies. I like all of them. Yeah. I think Thomas Jane's Punisher is great. I think that Ray Stevenson did a great job. I love the Netflix version with John Barenthal, but none of them, in my opinion, really like nailed it. Like they never really nailed like Frank Castle from the comics the same way that Riley North's character does. In Peppermint, even though it's not intended to be that story. The other reason that I like it is because I really like Jennifer Garner when she does action. Like, most people don't, when you think of Jennifer Garner, you think of like 13 Going on 30, you think of like some of the other, like I think she was in Juno, like she plays these very like lighthearted characters, but people forget that she got her start doing action on a TV show called Alias, which is a kick-ass if you have not watched that. So to see her like go back to like true form, to go back to her roots with stuff like that and not miss a beat with it, to me, like that's just the icing on the cake. So that is my that is like my opening argument for this movie.
Didn't she get started with her film action career in Daredevil, and then eventually like she started her own film for Elektra? Wasn't that her?
Yep. She was in Daredevil as Elektra Natchios, and then they did a spin-off film after that. Yep, You're right.
Finish him.
Yes. So, first and foremost, gentlemen, great opening arguments. You guys have totally convinced me that I need to see these movies. I have not seen any of them. However, let me make my argument for Joker. And I understand when Joker came out, it was written as a standalone movie, but you know what? To counter that, listen, this movie left you with more questions than answers. And the reason why this movie needs a sequel and deserves a sequel, not only that Joaquin Phoenix won the Oscar, not only that this movie made $1 billion on a $50 million budget, the reason why we need a sequel is because we didn't see Arthur Fleck, the Joker, become the Joker that we know. He becomes the Joker, right, but not the Joker that we know, because the Joker is a criminal mastermind. Okay, we didn't get that in this movie. We see that how he gains his following per se, but the one thing, the most beauteous thing about the Joker is that he's a criminal mastermind. He's always one step ahead. I would love to see a sequel. I don't know, maybe 5-10 years later, to where how he escapes from the mental institute and becomes a criminal mastermind, the one that can match wits with Batman. And Joaquin Phoenix is the man to do it. And we need to see another Joker movie, and that is my opening punch for Rage in the Cage.
Excellent first argument.
Yeah, I personally really liked the Joker movie. Like, it's on par. It's actually, I would say, like, if I was to recommend any kind of Batman or any DC movies, like Joker first, and then the Dark Knight trilogy.
Yeah.
And like, don't watch anything else. I don't like, I hate to say this, don't even worry about Zack Snyder's stuff. Like, you can't compete with those movies when it comes to their tone, their storytelling, the richness. Great. Yeah. It's going to be hard to compete against the Joker.
Come on, Team J, everybody. Yeah. Team J. Come on. I know there's a couple out there for Team Scrye. Let's hear it for Team J. Come on. I need a couple here. Let's go. I mean,
it's a good argument. It's a good argument. Like, I won't front. I would like to see like what happens to him after the events of the first movie.
Yeah.
But one thing that like Todd Phillips did say in an interview is that we don't know for sure that Arthur Fleck is the Joker. Like, we know that, you know, he's told this story and the focus is on him, but we don't, like, I think he's alluding to this idea that maybe this particular character inspires who becomes the Joker. But I don't know that for sure. This is just like what I got from him in an interview that I read. So, but that, even with that information, it would be great to see a second film where that unfolds. So yeah, I do agree with you to a big extent there. That was a really good opening argument there.
By the way, we just want to welcome in Mark Rodriguez is here, and Scott Banks is Team J. Awesome, thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the movies you guys are talking about, and I do feel that we don't get enough science fiction nowadays.
Sure.
And then, like I said, I definitely got to check out Peppermint. But the thing is with Jokers, like I said, it leaves with more questions than answers. There's so much room for potential. And you know what? Another thing, too, if you really think about it, there is room to, like, cross this over with the upcoming Pattinson Batman. Possibly. I'm not saying they should or will. I'm just saying, like, there are so many avenues you could take with this movie. I know it's a standalone movie, but there's so many different directions you could go in with this film. And I just feel like this is why it needs a sequel badly. I mean, there's so many movies that need a sequel, but this one is the one I'm leaning hard on for sure.
You know what's really interesting about all three choices here is that they all have to do with the little guy.
Yeah.
Yep. And they almost got like a revenge thing. Yeah.
That's a good observation. Yeah. You're right.
Every single one of these has to do with the little guy and bad things happening to them and them coming, you know, like doing whatever it takes to help all the other little guys out.
Yeah.
To a degree. So I think that's really interesting about the three different choices. I haven't seen Peppermint. I have seen Joker, but I am familiar with Alias and Jennifer Garner's work and stuff like that. And phenomenal actress. I wish she was in more stuff. Like, why couldn't they have her be Captain Marvel instead of?
Yeah, actually, yeah, she would have been great.
She would have been so much better as Captain Marvel. Anyway.
We got another Brie Larson hater, I guess. I
don't mind her. By the way, thank you, Cindy. Mark's wife, Cindy, says Team J.
Oh, man.
I think it's the first time I ever won her over.
Cindy, I thought you liked Peppermint. Like, we watched it together. I guess not. I guess I'm the only one.
Like, I guess the thing for District 9 for me to compete is Joker tells, and even with Peppermint, from what you were explaining, they're solo focused on one individual, where, you know, District 9 is more of it's a broader scope. There's a lot more, what's the word, scale to it.
Sure.
You know? And there's a lot more people involved. You see, like, the African cartels that are, like, hoarding the prawn technology and stuff, and how they had to, like, get paid off, and then they ended up fighting back against the government. Like, it's just one of those. You could literally pull the skin off of them being aliens and insert this ethnic group in there, and it's telling.
That's what I got off of it too. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so I'm just like, that's why, like, that's what makes it so impactful. And the thing is, I feel like when it came out, a lot of people just didn't see that. A lot of people didn't see what it was representing. You know, how every single, to a degree, almost every single, like, ethnic group in the world at one point or another was entrapped and enslaved or put in a camp or something and used as labor force to build something or do something like that. And then eventually, you know, the Exodus happens and Moses shows up and for let my people go. And so, like, that's kind of like what this was. And I thought it was like, I feel like if aliens were to actually
show up
appear to us,
yeah,
you know, like, if they were to be real, like, this is exactly what we would do to them as a human species. And it's kind of terrifying to think about it. So, but I think that it didn't, I just feel like it didn't get enough, attention and more appropriately the attention that it deserved, because it was an alien flick. You know what I mean? Because it was a sci-fi flick, and that's very unfortunate. I'm not like knocking Joker. Joker's awesome, and I haven't seen Peppermint, so I can't really say anything like that. But it was so underrated, and it's one of those movies that could be could be in the history books. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that just to piggyback off of what you said about this movie, I think I'm the only one that saw all three.
That's what I'm saying. You've seen all three, Adam's seen two, and I've seen one. So it's just like,
So, you know, to sort of like add to what Adam is saying, I think that part of the part of the reason why, like, I guess people didn't, like, connect with District 9 or even, like, see it, you know, there weren't as many people that saw it as should, is because it was marketed as, like, this sci-fi, like, this alien kind of a film, where the meat and potatoes of the actual movie are very human, right? Like, if you think about the fact that it's set in South Africa, and given the very recent history of apartheid there and how people were treated, you know, based off the color of their skin, and how, you know, all the things that sort of happened with the aliens in that, like, you could, like you said, you could sort of rip the skin off them and just replace them with, like, an ethnic group or people from a different region. And it plays exactly the same. It actually really is, like, a brilliant film. It's a really good film. But I think the problem was that it wasn't really explained to people who weren't, like, familiar with the concept. It was just like, here's this film about alien. This alien, like, you know, is essentially in love with this human, and, like, it wasn't really like broken down in a digestible way for people to where they would want to go see it. You know what I mean? Like that kind of in my opinion, that's what caused it to not really get the splash that it deserved.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, it reminds me of how the Avatar, the movie, what's his name? James Cameron's Avatar.
Right.
Like, everybody, I love that movie. I watched it several times in theaters, and I remember when it came out on DVD, I watched it every night for a month. That movie was so good, but it's the same. It's the same kind of story where the humans are the bad guys,
right.
And this is a whole nother group of sentient beings that were treading on their land and doing all this stuff, and that's how it was marketed. That's why it was so successful.
Right.
It wasn't just because of the special effects, but it was because of the story that was told, and that's what they marketed was the story. They didn't market the special effects.
Right.
And unfortunately, District 9, very similar, very, very similar concept, and it just wasn't marketed correctly, in my opinion.
Yep, you're right about that.
Before I get to my last punch in here, I just want to point out something in the chat.
Well, I never got my second punch.
Oh yeah.
Well, real quick, Paul in the chat says he's not seen Peppermint or Joaquin Phoenix Joker. I'm shocked by that. Paul is the dude that's seen everything. Paul has seen everything.
If I had to pick somebody who like this guy's definitely seen like all three movies, I would have picked Paul Tackett.
I know.
For sure.
All right, so Mark, get your closing argument, and I'll get my closing argument.
All right, so real quick, like what I'll say about this movie, the other thing I'll say about Peppermint is that the way that the action and the stunts are developed in this movie, they put it on par with just about any other action movie out there. In fact, you could take Riley North and drop her right into the John Wick universe. You could drop her right into Hobbs and Shaw. You could drop her right into the MCU. You could drop her right into Atomic Blonde. And she would fit into all of those. Taken. As a matter of fact, the director from Taken, Pierre Morel, directed Peppermint. And Don Lee, who did the stunt coordination and fight coordination for the Daredevil TV series, did all the stunt coordination for this. So it kind of gives you an idea of the level of like action and the quality of the action in this. Also, it's set up perfectly. I'm not going to give away the ending because apparently I'm the only one that's seen it here. But it is set up perfectly for a sequel. Not only for a sequel, but it's set up to where it really could be its own franchise. You could really make 4 or 5 of these movies and have Riley North be a part of the normal film lexicon if they really wanted to. And I suspect that over time they will probably get to that point.
I just want to know, at any point in the movie, does she go, I have a particular set of skills?
That would be amazing if she did.
That actually, now I'm actually more intrigued to watch this because the Taken movies were really good.
They were great.
Both of you gentlemen sold me on these movies. I might have to make time. I'm on vacation still for another 4 days, so I might have to make time to add these to my watch list and find them. Before I get to my closing argument, everybody in the chat, please recommend some movies for us. What standalone movie needs a sequel? I already see Paul says Ghost in the Shell. So everybody, if there's a movie out there that needs a sequel, say it in the chat right now. Again, I'm just to reiterate my closing argument about Joker is it's just really unfortunate that the DC extended universe is all kind of mumbo jumbo right now because you got Snyder wants to finish his story. The DC executives want to go in another direction. And they want to do these standalone movies. But the thing is, what Joker did for Batman was so refreshing. I know, I hate to say this, Batman's been done so many goddamn times, it drives me nuts. Because DC has so many great properties, that they need to, bring in or expand upon. That being said, what Joker did for Batman was just, was refreshing. It was awesome. I didn't even see it coming. And it'd be a damn shame if they abandoned that timeline. Please, Warner Brothers, if you see this, Joaquin Phoenix, if you see this, please, Give us one more. Team J all the way, baby. Everybody in the chat, who you got? Team J, Team Scrye, Team Mark. Let us know.
I do want to say something about the Joker movie. If they did make a sequel to it, I would totally want to see it from the perspective of Joker, not necessarily like it giving us away what he was planning and stuff, but like just imagine, whenever you watch one of the superhero movies, you always see what's going on from the perspective of the heroes, then the bad guy's doing this, bad guy's doing that. Well, flip it and like see like Joker's going in to rob a bank or whatever, and everything seems like it's going smoothly, and then Batman just appears randomly, and he's like not even in the movie.
They did with Suicide Squad a little, but it just wasn't executed too well. Maybe the James Gunn Suicide Squad, however, we're gonna get that hopefully. But yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see, like you said, Joker versus Batman from the perspective of the Joker.
Yeah. Like one thing that I really loved about, like, I don't know if you guys are, I'm a huge cartoon nerd, so I'm really into Batman the Animated Series, and the first episode that I saw of that was like an episode with Mr. Freeze, and what like really intrigued me about it was that almost the entire episode was told from his point of view. It wasn't told from Batman's point of view. And like, I just found that super compelling. And I wish that if, like Adam's saying, like if there were more films that told the story from more of like maybe not a villain perspective, but maybe an anti-hero perspective, because every villain doesn't know.
Rock at him. Remember that?
like all the good villains, they don't even realize they're villains, right? They think they're
the good guy.
Right. They think that they're the good guy. So, tell the story from that perspective and show us the superhero from the antagonist point of view. Like, I would really love to see more of that.
Okay, I'm looking at the chat right now. I have a feeling this was a fixed fight. Adam must have been planning this all week, saying, hey, you guys got to go into Rage in the Cage and say Team Scrye, okay? And he's probably slipping people money. I think it was a fixed fight. I think Adam just brought his whole army of, like, Team Scryes to, like, try to win this fight, because I see a lot of Team Scryes in the chat. Real quick, though, in the chat, Eon Lewis, shout out to Eon Lewis. He picked an interesting one. He says The Fifth Element needs a sequel.
Oh.
That was going to be the one that I was going to pick before Paul recommended District 9, and it brought up my memories of District 9. I was actually, like, I remember telling Jay months ago, I was like, I'm thinking I might go with Fifth Element, because that had a very open ending, like, what happens next kind of thing. But yeah, The Fifth Element, it's I'm not saying it's like the best acting or anything like that, but it was so revolutionary with the story that it was telling, with the characters that it had. Like, come on, Chris Tucker, the guy that did that played Dracula, I can't remember his name. He was in the Dark Knight trilogy. He was playing the dude with like half his head shaved or whatever. It was like the main bad guy.
I
can't remember his name. Obviously, Bruce Willis is doing this thing, and this was Mila Jovovich.
I love her.
This was her like debut.
No. She was in Dazed and Confused before she was in Fifth Element.
Was she?
Yeah, but this was the one that like shot her into stardom as an action hero.
Yeah. No, it wasn't her first movie. Yeah, but she was in a couple other movies before Fifth Element. But these are, like I said, I would love to see Fifth Element get a sequel, because think about the updated special effects that we could get. Like, look what they did with Blade Runner. Like, imagine if the Fifth Element got that same treatment, 20 some odd years later. Like, that could be really rad, for real.
Yeah.
And plus, come on, Bruce Willis is the man, dude. Come on. And I feel like, and another thing is, can we all agree that for whatever reason, I can't put my finger on it, but I feel like Bruce Willis has been in a rut. Like, these past few
Death
years,
Wish was not good, man.
Like, yeah, these past few years, like, he's been doing these straight to DVD or straight to streaming movies that are not good. Like, I feel like if he does either a proper Die Hard sequel or a Fifth Element sequel could really elevate him again. And I would love to see Bruce Willis be elevated again before he calls it a day.
I kind of feel like Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The actor I was trying to remember was Gary Coleman or Gary
Gary
Oldman.
Oldman.
Gary Oldman. Yeah.
That's who it was. That was playing
Yeah,
that guy.
everyone
Anyway.
in chat's like,
You're right.
So yeah.
No, but about Bruce Willis, what I was gonna say is that, like, you know, not to really shade him or anything like that, but it kind of seems to me like he's not like really trying in any of his newer stuff. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like the Bruce Willis of old, where you get him, you get characters like in Unbreakable or in Pulp Fiction that are, where there's like a high care level from him in terms of his acting. Like, everything that I've seen from him recently just seems like he's kind of phoning it in anyway. So
it's almost like he's using his fame. Like he's like being put in these movies, like, give me my paycheck. I'm going to sell this movie because I'm Bruce Willis. Doesn't even matter what the movie's about. I hate when that happens.
Before we get out of the cage, man, just real quick, Scott Bannock has an interesting pick. Waterworld Part 2.
Oh, no. No, I veto that.
That's why I'm wearing the goggles.
So yeah, just let us know. Team Mark, Team Scrye, Team J. A lot of people seem to be pulling for Team Scrye today, but like, let us know what movie deserves a sequel and what movie, if you guys want to see more sequels to the movies that we just talked about, hey, let us know. That being said, let's get out of the cage and open up the floor. All right, we're back. Woo. That was hella fun, and like I said, I'm sold on these movies. I gotta go check them out for sure. So, let's open up the floor before we call it a night, man. This has been a hell of fun. I want to get things just started just a little bit, man. Given our backgrounds in music, we gotta talk about a little bit of music, man. So, like, right. Adam, please name some of your favorite bands. I need to hear them.
I'm the biggest Linkin Park fan, hands down. The biggest Linkin Park fan. They're my favorite band of all time. Rip Chester. I remember I was in, again, this is also when I was first starting my YouTube channel and really trying to take it to the next level. I was living in Arizona when the news came out that he had passed away. I literally for like a week was just like lost. I was like, this Linkin Park was one of the biggest influences as I was growing up and really trying to push music. Like, they were one of the biggest influences on me. I have so many good memories going, like, in high school, going to play, like, Magic the Gathering and Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon, listening to Linkin Park, getting hyped up to win some tournaments, and then, I play guitar, bass, piano, and drums. And I remember when they did their Live in Texas album, I bought the live DVD, and I would play it, and then I would like pull out my guitar and stuff and just like play along with them, like if I was a part of the band. Like, it was just so favorite band of all time. Most of the rock bands that I am into or were into, still is, I listen to them on occasion, was like Korn, Limp Bizkit.
We're close to the same age, so we can connect on this stuff. Being a '90s kid.
Cool. I like me some. I'm not saying all of it, but I like me some 9 Inch Nails. Who else? I'm trying to think. Who else did I listen to a lot of? Breaking Benjamin.
Yeah.
There's another good group.
I loved it when they did the song for Halo 2. Remember that?
Yeah, that's what got me into Breaking Benjamin, when they did that, because I was a huge Halo fan back in the day, and then I heard that on the trailer, and I was like, oh, I gotta check this stuff out. And then I heard that was it Cold or So Cold? Mm-hmm. That song is so good. Yep. That song is so good. But yeah, like as far as like older bands, Motley Crue. I learned how to play guitar and bass off of buying tablature books of Metallica stuff. So like I'm a fan of everything of Metallica up until the Reload album. Everything after that I don't care about. But up until the Reload album, especially their S&M where they did it with the orchestra. Oh,
did you listen to they did an S&M 2 last year.
They did a second one?
Yes.
Oh,
I almost like the second one better, honestly.
I'm about to go find it. Well, they like the first one, there was all their big hits, all their big hits. So I'm interested to see what they did with the second one.
And by the way, Adam, Jason Newsted moved to Syracuse.
Did he?
Yes.
Did he?
Just
are they still even together? Last time I heard, James went back into rehab.
No, that was about a year ago. James was in rehab, but he seems to be doing good now. Last I heard, but obviously Metallica's, obviously no one's touring right now, but yeah, but I'm glad. But yeah, I mean, James has struggled with that for a while. I mean, he went into rehab during Saint Anger, which probably part of the reason why Saint Anger sucks so much. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why Saint Anger was terrible, but that was definitely one of them right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of Saint Anger, right? Like that Some Kind of Monster, the documentary.
That was great.
So do you guys remember the scene where like Lars plays that one album for his dad, and he's like, "So what do you think?" And his dad's like, "You should delete that."
No, but I gotta look that up. I always wanted to hear that album. Like I wonder if that album would have been better than what they eventually released. You know what I mean? Because they didn't really give us a taste of that. They just showed us the scene like, "Oh, so Dad, what do you think?" "I think you should delete that."
Another part of that documentary, remember, I mean, they said they don't do this stuff anymore, but one part in that documentary, like Lars got in James's face and started screaming at him. Like, oh my God, it got ugly. And you thought for sure James was going to retaliate. He didn't. But like, if anybody got in my face like that, like I probably would have retaliated one way or another. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting watch. Not exactly a fun watch because, Metallica's like, they're like dads to me, and I named my dog Lars. It was not fun watching them fight among each other. It's not. It really isn't. So, but it's interesting to watch nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm sure that's par for the course for them. You know what I mean? Because they've been together since since 1981.
Yeah.
And, touring constantly for, at this point, 40 years. They're siblings at this point. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you're gonna have those kind of knockdown dragouts with people you're close to like that.
And one last thing about Metallica is the one thing that bothered me so much, and they had a golden opportunity to right the wrong. So a couple years ago, we had the 30th anniversary of And Justice for All, which is one of my favorite Metallica albums.
Yeah.
I probably ranked that either number 3 or number 4, among all their albums. What bothered me is they did it when they re-released it for the 30th anniversary. I thought for sure they're gonna remix the album and bring up the bass levels, and they didn't. Missed opportunity because the bass, Jason Newsted's bass lines are like buried, and all the producers say like it's some of the best bass lines you ever hear on any album.
Yeah.
And I'm just mad that Lars of all people
Lars and James, especially Lars, they're some fucking douchebags. The bass lines from especially when they brought him on, like he's who taught me how to play bass. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's how I learned how to play bass, with listening to his lines in those different movies. And I always wondered, I was always like, how come you can barely hear any bass, especially in the older albums, right? Master of Puppets, Justice for All, like why can't you hear the bass? But
Adam, what's your favorite Metallica album? Mine's Ride the Lightning.
Well, album, original album, I would have to say the self-titled Black Album, because that's the song that drew me in. I had heard about Metallica, but the song that really got me into them was Unforgiven. Mm-hmm. I remember hearing that on the radio when I used to work at Best Buy. Like, it was playing over our loudspeaker. I would hear it all the time, and I just kept hearing it, and I was like, oh, this is such a good song, whatever. Bought the album, loved the whole album, and that spiraled me into all of the Metallica stuff up until, like I said, Reloaded. But my favorite album, CD, whatever you want to call it, that they produced was the S&M one. I love having the orchestra stuff on top of their music. It gives it it's just me, maybe just because it gives it that like cinematic quality, you know what I mean? So it's just so, but yeah, the Black Album, all of the stuff on the Black Album was so good. You know, Wherever I May Roam, Unforgiven, Inner Sandman, God, it's just all the, like the majority of their big hits are like on that album, and that's so good.
Mark, what do you got? What's their best album?
Well, Master of Puppets has the most bangers, in my opinion. Like it's a no skip record for me.
Yeah.
Probably because like that was the first like thrash album that I had heard. You know what I mean? Like I grew up in that era. So like for me, like heavy at the time was like Motley Crue, Rat, Dokken, like those bands. And then like I had a friend that was like really into like the Big Four. They weren't called that at the time, but like, you know, he was really into like Testament, Slayer, Anthrax, and this band Metallica. And he put on Master of Puppets for me, like when I was at his house, and it just like blew me away. Like I was just like, what is this? You know, and then I immediately like asked him to tape it for me. I like went home. I'm a drummer too, so like I went home and I learned like all the songs on that album note for note. And then like when they came around, you know, like when they finally came to Florida, like I'm from Florida, so like when they finally came to Miami and they played a show, it was maybe like a year, maybe I guess it'd be like a year and a half later because Cliff had passed away. It was one of the first shows with Jason Newsted, and they debuted Harvester of Sorrow at that show before Injustice came out.
Oh, that's awesome.
That like sold me on them like forever. I was just like, dude, this is like one of my favorite bands. But like Master of Puppets, like to me, that was like my gateway, and to this day, I still listen to it like at least, you know, a few times a year, you know what I mean? Like end to end. To me, it's one of the greatest metal albums.
We got a question in the chat right now. Shay Smither says, did you guys see Metallica's performance with Lady Gaga at the awards show? Yes, I did. In fact, I was watching that live, and I was totally let that. It was not their fault. We all know what happened. Some a-hole backstage tripped on James's microphone cable, and but Metallica, like a couple weeks later, released the sound check footage, so we actually got to hear the performance properly.
Nice.
And it was awesome. And dude, Lady Gaga looks great, by the way. Just saying. But it was still an awesome performance from the both of them. It's just unfortunate what happened live. Unfortunately.
Yep.
Whew. All right, what do you guys say? We got a few more minutes here. Adam, anything you want to talk about before we call it a day, or want to promote some of your stuff or anything you're working on?
Sure. So like I kind of mentioned this before at the beginning, Godzilla Apex, instead of doing a series, because initially that's what I was gonna like try to do, it's just a lot of work for one person to really do like a bunch of animation and make like a longer running TV series. And people were constantly asking me like to make the episodes longer because they were only running like 3 to 4 minutes. And so I decided instead to try to make a set of animated short films. So the movie that's coming out is called Inheritance, and it was actually I had Andreas Perez, you know, Kaiju Noir.
Yep.
He helped me. So he's like I guess he was a creative consultant. I don't know how to like credit him yet in the film, but he helped me outline 5 movies with a consistent storyline, so that way when you see them, you can literally watch them back to back and you know not miss a beat. But that's what I have planned for the Apex series. Inheritance is coming out. And then I don't know when the other ones are going to be released because I'm having like custom models made, because one thing that Toho is notorious for is if you use anything that's related to their properties, they come after you quickly and they'll shut you down. And if you're a big name, they'll take your money. So like, I mean, you're familiar with like Pharaoh Monk, right? And
yes.
And Blue Oyster Cult, they all like all these. There's a couple of others that like sampled their stuff, and as soon as Toho found out, they came after them with lawsuits. And And I was like, and then you see all these other fan films that people have tried to make over the years, and they tried to raise funds for it. And when they start looking better than what Toho could make at the time, they were like, nope, you got to shut that down. You can't make it look better than ours or whatever. And it's really kind of sad. So as big of a fan of Godzilla as I am, I'm looking to make Apex be the homage to my love for that franchise. And like I said, I want to move on and do other things. So that's part of the reason why I'm exploring Star Wars. And then eventually I'm going to be doing straight original content stories. I actually came up with an idea that I kind of want to turn into like an audio drama / book, like an audio book, but with sound effects and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
And see how well that does. And if it does really well, then, turn it into a visual masterpiece. So, outside of that, so we've got Godzilla Apex coming out next month. And then, you can check me out on Patreon, where you can see all this, all the videos that I'm going to be uploading to YouTube. Well, for the most part, I should probably actually take this down because I'm really bad about uploading it and then showing it on Patreon and then showing it publicly. So I should probably just take that out. But I have free music downloads. You can also, when you join the Patreon, because it's only $5 a month, and you get everything. There's no tiers. It's just one flat $5 a month.
Links in the description below, people.
And you can request songs that you would like me to cover, maybe even turn it into, take a song and turn it into a cinematic piece. Like I did a couple of covers, like Trouble from Coldplay. I did I Will Die for You from Prince.
Wow.
Mark's a huge Prince fan up here.
Yeah.
Are you, dude? That man is a shining example of going from being a label man to an independent man. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That guy's history is. Anybody who wants to be a musician or whatever, you need to study Prince's life and music, and so you can understand what music's really all about. I love the fact that he used to say things like, I don't ever do the same type of music all the time, and my fans know this, and that's why they like me, is because my music is always different. Every song is different. It's never just 80s pop into 90s pop into rock, or it's an album could sound like a jumbled mess of a whole bunch of genres, and it's all Prince. It's perfect. It's perfect.
I agree 100%.
So, but you can request music there. I've got free music downloads there. I'm going to be uploading soon all the live streams that I do on my channel, which are just basically, there are a lot of creative live streams. Like if I'm working on music, or I'm working on thumbnail art or something like that, or even doing animations, I'll do the live stream on YouTube, and then I'm going to be posting it onto Patreon, so people who are patrons, they can go back and see the archive of live streams, especially the ones they missed. And then outside of that, I'm working on a movie. This is my first feature-length movie I'm doing the music for. I'm composing the soundtrack for Yoko Higuchi's The Last Session, which I've been drawing up concepts and sending it to him and all that, but I haven't actually gotten a cut of the movie to actually write the music yet. So I'm still waiting for that, but that'll be coming out later this year. And then I got commissioned to work on another YouTube channel. They're another Godzilla channel. They have an animated series called Godzilla Bonds of Blood, which, I feel like what I've done with Apex is amateur compared to what this guy's done. He's got all original designs. The animations are so good. He's even got humans in it and all these different, it looks like anime but 3D kind of. And they've got voice actors and stuff like that in there. So it's been a long production, but the problem is it's because it's a fan film. It's something he's doing on the side. The next episode is taking 4 years to come out. Jeez. And he wants to keep moving forward. But I think, I'm saying this, but I don't really know because he hasn't really shared. I think what they're doing is they're like getting all their assets and all their 3D elements and everything together, all the special effects. And then they're going to, once they have that, then it'll be a lot easier to animate the show on a more regular basis and get more consistent episodes out. But he's commissioned me to start working on the music for his series, which is awesome. I'm really looking forward to working on that because the sound effect that the soundtrack that they already have is amazing. And I'm like, man, I got to compete with that now. Okay, let's do it. Let's challenge accepted.
There you go.
But outside of that, outside of those projects, I'm just trying to do more in the realm of like a production company, as well as get more experience trying to get connected with other maybe independent filmmakers, possibly like, you know, with everything that's happened with the streaming services, Disney Plus, HBO Max, everything like that, making movies has changed. It's going to be a completely different ball game. Instead of millions and billions of dollars going into these productions for only an hour and a half of content, we're going to be seeing a heck of a lot more like TV series and stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe like look at Joker, $50 million, how like made $1 billion in profit and all that. Like, we're going to see more productions like that, and like that's kind of where I'm trying to like see if I can find people who are getting into those aspects. You know, I'm trying to get my foot in the door, whatever. I really kind of want to focus more on music, but I am a storyteller. I've been thinking about writing books and stuff like that, and I have all these ideas, but my main, like the meat and potatoes of who I am is like in music and the animation stuff. I literally picked it up because of the lockdowns and COVID and stuff. Like, I wouldn't have been doing it if it wasn't for that, because I had a full-time job. but now I kind of can't escape it because I get it now. Like, you tell a story. I have a couple audio dramas on my channel, and they've done fairly well, but not as well as the animations go, and that's because people want visuals to go with their story, you know. And okay, I get that. So, but I'm really trying to build the business, and like for anybody who's listening, all the money that I make from Patreon, all the money that I make from YouTube, any money that I make off of my work goes right back into it. I'm not even paying my bills with it yet. Like, wow. I don't make enough to pay the bills, but like all the little bit of money that I have made has gone right back into the productions. Like, I don't go off and like buy a bunch of things. I don't collect things, you know, like that's another thing within this Godzilla community is I'm not a toy collector at all. I have one toy over there, and it's because someone bought it for me for my birthday because they knew I was a Godzilla.
Are you buying something right now? Like,
He loves to show
are you
off
saying
the
I
Funko
have a
Pops.
problem?
I think you may have a problem, Jay. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, like looking at your guys' backgrounds, like all the posters and stuff, like I would love to collect stuff like that. I just don't have the extra funds because everything's getting poured into making Scrye Productions a legit company, and eventually I will have an LLC. It will become a company where I have to pay taxes on it and stuff. Like, but that's like that, and then trying to get my foot in, or trying to get in where I can fit in with my music and scoring other people's movies or TV shows or whatever, or video games for that matter. There's a guy on Twitter that's working on a remake of the Godzilla Save the Earth video game. Nice. And I don't know, I just came across it. One of the other modelers, animators that I work with was telling me he's working on this project too. And I was like, well, hey, if you need music or whatever, I could like rewrite the score for that game. I know it came out on GameCube and stuff, but I could, we could update it or whatever it is that you're trying to do. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I do plan on releasing a lot more music. Oh, and I have an EP that I've been working on, but it's slowly turning into a full-on album because it went from like 5 tracks to like 8 tracks now. So I'm like, just do 4 more tracks and I call it an album, right?
Right on.
I miss playing this game, by the way. I love Godzilla Save the Earth. I don't have a PlayStation anymore, but man, I absolutely loved this game.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to it.
That's what a lot of people say is like the best Godzilla game that's ever came out. But So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Follow me on Scrye Productions on YouTube. Same thing on Twitter, Patreon, /Scrye. Everything's in the description. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. That's kind of what I'm doing, and I'm looking forward to the future. The future looks bright. 2020 was a really rough year for a lot of people, but I think with the collapse of all these old industries and all these old systems and models of business, it's given rise to new systems and models of business. Right. When you look at what happened to the movie industry with theaters and all that kind of stuff, the same exact thing happened to the music industry decades before. Yeah. And now the movie industry is feeling it. And now we're going to see some major sweeping changes across cinema as we know it.
Yeah, so, I think with film in particular, you're right on the money with things going from features to more long form television series. Mm-hmm. Because I think that number one, the model of just taking a feature and then dropping it on streaming is still very iffy, but you can actually take the same story and flesh it out among multiple episodes and multiple seasons, and then use that story to drive a platform, to drive a subscribership. And I think that studios are starting to see that, and that's why you're seeing now a Paramount Plus, and now HBO Max, which is probably going to rebrand, and things like that. Like
legendary TV studios.
Yeah, we're going to start seeing pretty much all these old traditional movie studios start to just come up with their own streaming platforms and just drop content.
And now there's Discovery Plus with Food Network and Discovery Channel. They're all doing it. And it's
they're all doing it.
And now it's if you want them all, you're paying more than you did with cable. So you got. Yeah. But I like I said, I already got my central streaming service. Plus, I don't have time to watch all of them either. Real quick before we call it a night, just want to check out the chat real quick. First and foremost, shout out to Off the Beaten Podcast. Thanks for coming in, Dion. We always love having you here. Zilla Punk says, Scrye, can you cover Pushing Away from Linkin Park? And Shay Smithers says, Mark, a movie that needs a sequel that I know you're an anime fan, Ninja Scroll.
Absolutely. Yeah, yes. I agree with that 1,000%.
I just wanted to get those. I didn't want to make anybody feel like they were left out. And I got a question for Adam. One last question for Adam before we call it night. It's a question I ask all of our guests. Adam of Scrye Productions, would you care to come back on NerdCage Live?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Yes.
This was so much fun. This is the first time I got to meet Mark, and we got to have some really interesting topics of conversation. And I don't know who the official winner is just yet, but I'm pretty sure Team Scrye won the cage.
I don't like admitting defeat, but there were a lot of Team Scryes in there.
Yeah,
again, I'm just gonna admit fixed fight because he probably contacted everybody and says, "Hey, get the Team Scryes in
That's
here."
Two out of three.
It's just way too convenient that that all the Team
We gotta
Scryes
check his
up.
PayPal account and make sure he hasn't bribed anybody.
Stop the count. So listen, just want to polite reminder to everybody here that next week, big show next week. William Dorsey Jr., the drummer from Body Count, Ice-T's band, is going to be on NerdCage next week. I cannot wait. And of course, if you saw the trailer earlier today, Alexander the Swell is going to be here on February 25th. So those should be fun. Very much looking forward to those shows. We've got a lot more coming. We have watch parties on the way. I'll be announcing those soon. I'm still trying to get a body count. No pun intended. I'm still trying to get a body count for some of these upcoming watch parties because we had a great reception with Wonder Woman 84. And real quick, we do have keep your eyes out for the milestone lookbacks. We already recorded Silence of the Lambs. We're recording Deadpool this weekend, so keep your eyes out for those. Mark, what do you got before we go?
Yeah, just, once again, very excited to have to have Ill Will next week. I've been listening to Body Count nonstop pretty much, like, since we got the news that he was going to be on. I'm a huge fan. As for this week, this has been an absolute pleasure, Adam. Thank you so much for being a part of it. You know, it's a pleasure to actually, like, meet you and talk to you and stuff. Like, I would say face to face, but, you know, face to screen. This has been a great episode for us, I think. You know, and once again, thanks everybody for you know, interacting with us in the chat as you always do. We really appreciate the support.
Yeah, so yeah, it's been an absolute blast, and of course we've been pumping out a lot of content. So everybody, thank you for checking out all of our content. Mark and I are working hard every day on the channel. We got a lot of good stuff on the way. Adam, there's some stuff I want to talk to you off air too that I want to get you involved with us. You know, get you more involved with us. So yeah, and everybody, if you're part of the NerdCage Live family, please subscribe to Scrye Productions, man. The dude works hard, and you know he's part of the NerdCage family. So please give him your support and whatnot. And everybody who came from Scrye Productions over to NerdCage, thank you for checking us out and thanks for coming in. That was a hell of fun. So that being said, before we go, we ask you to please like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, spread that shit like so. So the USA. From Louisville to Houston to Syracuse and all of our friends and fans around the world at NerdCage Live. Enjoy life. Stay safe. And good night.
Sayonara.
See you later, guys.
There goes the neighborhood!
Body count. Body count. Shadow my black hoodie and pull up on my head. I didn't have a gun, so why am I dead? You didn't have to shoot me, and that's a known fact. Necessary evil.
Ooh, trying to get out of the NerdCage, are ya? Well, before you go, hit that subscribe button. And if you're really intrigued, ring that bell. Thank you for dropping by. Until next time, tell everyone you know about NerdCage Live!